Okay, then good afternoon, everyone. In today's discussion, in my last class, I already discussed about the OLAP operations, various kinds of OLAP operations like drill down, drill up, slice and dice operations, then pivot operations, and I also discussed about the various kinds of the models which we have left as leftover topics like snowflakes model, fast constellation model. Then I also discussed about the differences among those three models. Okay. Snowflakes, fast constellation, and star model, and which one is the best for which cases, in which scenario, in which application, which model will be used. Okay, that I discussed in the last classes in a detailed mode, and I also discussed about the very basic queries, how we can write or how we can define the DDL sort of queries, multi-dimensional data definition language sort of queries, in terms of different kinds of models like in star models, snowflakes models, and fast constellation model. And I also discussed about the concept hierarchies in my last class. Like, so these are the topics which I already discussed in the last class. Today, I would like to discuss with you about the data warehouse architecture. Okay, so how the data warehouse architecture, what are the components exist within the architecture of data warehouse, and how it will how those components are working. What are the various jobs? What are the individual tasks of those individual components, and what is the infrastructure, overall infrastructure of the data warehouse? Okay, that is very important. I would also like to discuss about the various design issues of the data warehouse from a business analytics point of view, from data analytics point of view, how data warehouse design should be maintained, and in which way the data warehouse design should be adopted to implement a proper and efficient data warehouse. Okay, and I would also like to discuss about the OLAP tools of today, the various sort of OLAP tools, because OLAP operation I discussed in the last class, that is drill down, drill up. I think all of you have already remembered the OLAP operations. In this class, I'm going to discuss about the OLAP tools. That means what are the various kinds of OLAP tools are available. Okay, and in real life applications, in real life scenarios, what are the various companies are using their various kinds of OLAP tools in their data warehouse architecture or in their data warehouse systems. Okay, so these are the main motivation of discussion of today. If I will get some extra time, then I will start with the discussion of data cleaning processes. That means data pre-processing processes. Okay, so we have almost getting a completion towards the data warehouse. Some little bit topics are left that I am going to discuss in my coming classes, in my next week classes. But almost we have already covered the data warehouse topics. Okay, and very soon we are going to start a discussion about the data mining, which is our main aim of this syllabus to cover. Because within data mining, we are going to also discuss about the machine learning and its algorithms, and some cases of, if I will get time, then some cases of neural network and deep neural network. Okay, that is my main aim to discuss. So I suggested everyone in the last week, if you remember, I suggested everyone that at least Python software you have to install in your machine. Okay, because in future I'm going to discuss about the various procedures and techniques of data mining or machine learning techniques, which I'm going to show you some code snapshots, code snippets running, executing in a Python framework. Okay, so it will be helpful for you to understand that thing. And I also send a bunch of code for your future practice at your home, as we don't have a practical lab in this subject, so we have to practice it at our home or in this theory class as well. Okay, because we don't have the lab, and until we are getting a chance of doing an online classes, it will be easier for us to practice those codes inside our classes. Okay, when the classes will be offline, I don't know what are the facilities we will get there. Okay, to continue with the classes, but we hope that we are getting as I would try to give you as knowledge, as many knowledge as possible, along with the hands-on, some sort of hands-on code snippets, hands-on training sort of things. Okay, so try to understand those things. So basic architecture or basic implementation that you have to do for the softwares at your home laptop or home desktop. Okay, for supporting of those classes. So at least two softwares I suggested that everyone must download and install in your machine. Both are free software. The first software is the Python software. Okay, everyone install it. Okay, and what are the package we will require, that I will discuss while I'm going to discuss about the Python software. What are the package we need to execute the data mining algorithms or machine learning codes, those packages I'm going to discuss. Okay, and during that class, you are going to install those packages like Skykit package, Pandas libraries. Okay, so these are the various packages that we will require. Okay, these are some sort of package, neural network packages we will require. Okay, to install. And another software that I suggested to install is Weka. Okay, Weka is actually drag and drop software for a data analysis portion. Okay, so with the help of Weka, it is a very popular software. Okay, easier to use because they drag and drop just like an Excel. We just put the data, we can insert the data or upload the data into Weka software, and then based on the various drag and drop algorithms are running behind the Weka software, which actually implemented with the help of Java API, Java Application Programming Interface. So most of the code of the Weka software algorithms are based on Java API, right? I already discussed those things in my last class, and it is very easier to see. It is a visualizable. Okay, it is a very easier to see that how those data will be analyzed based on various algorithms available in machine learning or data mining techniques. So these two softwares I already suggested to download and install. So everyone, please be ready with these two softwares. Probably we will start our data mining hands-on session next week. Okay, next week we are going to discuss about the leftover topic of the data warehousing and the introduction of data mining, which will be also theoretical, and then we are inserting gradually into the hands-on training part of data mining algorithms and classification and clustering sort of processes. Okay, everyone's clear to everyone, right? What you are going to download and what we are going to install.
Sir, please write the application name in the chat box.
Okay,
Please.
one thing.
Wake up.
Okay. One thing. Listen. In my Google Classroom, I'm going to upload the exact URL of those sites from where you are going to download Weka and Python. Okay, is it clear to everyone?
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. So let's start with the today's discussion. I'm sharing the post. So if anyone has any query regarding the last class, then you can ask me. If anyone has any sort of query regarding the last class, you can ask me. Any doubt, any query regarding last class?
No, sir. And sir,
Yes.
Sir, one more thing I want to tell, sir. If you,
Yes.
sir, kindly go little bit slowly, sir, it will be very helpful to understand.
Okay. Definitely. Okay. So today, my main aim is to discuss about the data warehouse architecture. So till now, I discussed several things of the data warehousing, like what are the various characteristics of data warehousing, what are the various tools that we are using inside the data warehousing, like OLAP tools. Okay, the difference between data warehousing and the existing database system, like our operational database system, where OLTP tools are generally using. Then I also discussed about the various issues regarding data warehousing and what are the various models that generally helpful to use data warehousing and its applications, right? So today I'm going to discuss about the very basic and underlying architecture of a data warehouse system. That means if you are a owner of a company, then if you want to develop a data warehouse architecture for your company or data warehouse infrastructure for your company, then how would you process? Okay, that the entire thing that I'm going to discuss. So before how you are going to process to implement the data warehouse architecture, you have to know what are the components are available in data warehouse architecture, right? That means what are the components are necessary to implement a data warehouse architecture, and then their roles, their jobs, the roles or jobs of those components, and then what are the various models based on the architecture we can define the data. We can divide the data warehouse into three different models that I'm going to discuss. Then I'm going to tell you how you can gradually implement the multi-tier data warehouse system or data warehouse databases in your for your company for your job. Okay. So this is the picture. I think it is visible to everyone. This is the picture block diagram of our data warehouse architecture. So it is called a multi-tier architecture. Especially, we call it as a three-tier architecture, right? So have you ever heard about one tier, two tier, three tier architecture? Have you ever learned it before?
No, sir. No,
So I
sir.
think one tier we have learned in computer
Yes,
architecture semester.
you should
One
have
tier
learned it.
architecture.
You should have learned it because if you learn the computer networking is a part of in this semester, I think so. Not only networking, this architecture depends on various kinds. If you know the DBMS, I think you should know the one tier, two tier, three tier architecture. This is the first chapter topic.
Yes, sir.
Okay, if you know the DBMS, one tier, two tier, three tier database architecture, that architecture is generally pointing to the architecture of a relational database. Okay, that means operational databases, not the multi-dimensional databases. Okay, but it has some similarity between those two kind of architectures. So one tier, two tier, three tier architecture. If you are going to if you are going to able to learn about the client server architecture in future, then in that case, in case of client server architecture, you are also able to learn about the one tier, two tier, three tier architecture. Okay, the client server architecture following that thing. Because in computer network, I think computer network subject is available in this semester that you are going to learn it, and in your lab you are going to implement the client server models, client server architecture. So this one tier, two tier, three tier architecture you are going to be very familiar very soon. Okay, not only soon, but because I think you should have learned it earlier. Okay, because you have already covered the database management system. So one tier, two tier, three tier architecture, the main difference is that, as the name suggests, one tier architecture, that means there is only one system which will works like a server and client itself. That means you are using a computer, okay, and your computer is connected with the internet. So at the same end, your computer, your local machine is working. That means you are using your local machine to store your data inside your local machine. That means the storage, the processor, everything is part of your own machine. So whatever process you are running down or executing in your machine, that will be part of your own storage, that will be part of your own processor, right? So these are one tier architecture. That means there is only one machine which will works like a client as well as server. Okay. Now two tier architecture, in the two tier architecture means you are connecting your machine with a Google server through the internet. That means there is Google server, there is one machine which is situated in anywhere in the world, and your machine is a client machine, is communicated with that Google server through the public network. Okay, here two-tier architecture depends client and server. Your machine is working like a client machine, and that Google server machine is working like a server machine. So you are communicating with each other through a client server model. And three-tier architecture is something where a middle tier exist that is abstract in nature. That means you can't see that middle tier, but it must exist in between client and server. And that middle tier will give you some sort of business logic, business analytics. That means before you are going to directly hit to the Google server, your request have to go through that middle tier or that business analytics server, which is an extra server that checks your query whether it is legible to send to the Google server or not, or whether what sort of data analysis you require, what sort of data you requested from the Google server, what sort of analysis you will require. That some sort of intelligent sort of part will be implemented in between Google server and your client machine. Two tier ক্ষেত্রে কিছু, there is no intelligent sort of part is implemented in between Google server and client machine. You are directly requesting to the Google server, and Google server give you the data as it is. Okay, but there is no filtration process exist in case of two-tier architecture. But in case of three-tier architecture, there is always a middle tier exist which provides some sort of business intelligence task or business analytics sort of task and provides some sort of filtration of the data. Okay, that means তুমি যা ইচ্ছা রিকোয়েস্ট পাঠালে গুগল সার্ভারকে পাঠাবে, বা গুগল সার্ভার থেকে যে রেসপন্সটা আসবে, that should be checked first, there should be analytics first, there should be that intelligence should be extracted first, and then that analyzed data will be sent as a response to your request. Okay, so that is the, আমি খুব ওভারঅল ভাষায় বললাম, that the very overall definition দিলাম one tier, two tier, three tier architecture. Data warehouse system generally followed a three tier architecture. A three-tier architecture. In one tier, two tier does not exist as the architecture of data warehouse system. Okay, it always follows three-tier architecture, which is sometimes called multi-tiered architecture. Okay, three-tier architecture in data warehousing system architecture is sometimes called multi-tiered architecture, right? So look about the three-tier architecture. Here in this entire figure, you have seen that entire figure is divided into four parts, right? Data sources, if you go at the bottom, you will see data sources. Second part, data warehouse server. third part, OLAP server, and the fourth part is the front end tools. Okay, so don't get confused. Okay, these are three-tier architecture. So these data sources and data warehouse servers together is one tier. That is the bottom tier, which is called tier 3. You can say it's a three-tier architecture. This is tier 3. It's a bottom tier, and together they make this bottom tier. Data sources plus data warehouse server together they make the bottom tier or the tier 3, tier number 3, right? This is the middle tier. OLAP server is the middle tier or tier number 2 in the architecture, and this is the front end tools is the tier number 1 or the top tier of the architecture, through which user can communicate with your system. Okay, so top tier is such a tier where it will give some interface through which user can communicate with the data warehouse server or data warehouse system. And these front end tools generally consist of various sort of query and reporting tools, some sort of analysis tools, and data mining tools. Data mining is other tools to use korbe that is actually implemented on the front end tools or on top tier. Analysis and query, reporting, and data mining, whatever tools you are going to use. Okay, suppose you are going to use a tool which can perform trend analysis or pattern analysis in data mining, or you are going to use a tool, as for example, which can perform some sort of prediction analysis. Okay, and that can be implemented or that can be used by the user through the interface at the top tier or front end tool tier. Okay, that's why it's called front end tools. Why it's called front end tools? Because these are the tools through which it is working as a front end of the system through which user can communicate with the actual data warehouse system or data warehouse servers. Okay, and now go into the bottom tier or third tier, which will nothing but a combination of the data sources and data warehouse servers. Okay, data sources and data warehouse server. What do you mean by data sources? একদম first class আমি পড়িয়েছিলাম, if you remember, that the data warehouse is a collection of heterogeneous data sources, is an integration of heterogeneous data sources. If you remember, heterogeneous means it is a collection of flat files or a relational DBMS or day-to-day transactions. So the sources which will be collected from various kinds of formats, with the help of various kinds of formats or from various different locations. Okay, so those are called data sources, and data sources will be fed into the next layer. Actually, these both layer will be part of the same tier, bottom tier or tier 3. Please don't get confused. These two layers are both part of the same tier, that is bottom tier or tier 3, which is called data warehouse server tier. Okay, data source is part of data warehouse. Okay, so this data will be fed to the data warehouse server. Okay, after performing these number of processes. This process short form is ETL process, or sometimes it is also called ETLR process. ETLR process. Okay, ETLR process. Remember it. ETL process or ETLR process. এক একটা বইতে এক রকম লিখেছে। ETL process or ETLR process. Okay, the same meaning. E for extraction of the data. There is a gateway. There is an application program which will working like a gateway, and that gateway is nothing but supported by underlying database management system, and it allows the client programs to generate some sort of SQL sort of code to be executed at a server. Okay, example of this gateway. Have you ever heard about ODBC system, Open Database Connectivity System, that is part of the JDBC? Have you ever heard about it? Microsoft create the ODBC Open Database Connection System, or OLEDB
Yes, sir.
system, or OLEDB system, Open Linking and Embedding for Databases. Both are part of the JDBC, Java Database Connectivity, and produced by the Microsoft thing. So these gateways are generally the example of this sort of gateways are ODBC or OLEDB system. Okay, and this working as a gateway through which this extraction process can be performed. Extraction of data. এই data generally থাকে raw format. This data generally stored into raw format. So raw formatted data কিন্তু প্রচুর problem আছে. There are lots of challenges, lots of problems are there in raw format data. কিছু কিছু challenges আমি তোমাকে বলছি, listen it very carefully, some challenges, very basic challenges. When the data are coming from a raw format, if the data size is very large, the challenges is also large. If the data size is small, the challenges is also small. Very simple. Okay. যদি অনেক বেশি data থাকে, challenges and problems are more. If the data size is small, amount of data is small, then the challenges and problems are also small. Now, what are those challenges? Challenges are various sort of challenges are there. Like there is a challenge of missing values. Okay, there is a challenges called missing values. So suppose your database contains a multiple number of rows and each and every row gives some records based on multiple number of attributes, right? So it may be possible some attribute values are blank. That means the customer has forgot to give some value of that attribute, or customers sometimes think that this attribute is unnecessary. You don't need to give the value of those attributes. Right? Suppose you are not making it mandatory like star mark. While the customer fill up the form, you are not making the attribute as a star mark. That means a mandatory attribute value. So customers simply skip that attribute to fill up with the information. So at the back end, your database consists with a blank value or null value. And blank value is called a missing value. That means there is no value. But when you are trying to apply any sort of mining tools, mining algorithms to make a prediction or to do any sort of data analysis, these missing values will create some sort of problems. Those algorithms will not be able to evaluate any row or any sort of tuple with missing values. It will give you error because it will not find a value there. So it will give you some error or some sort of invalid output or erroneous output. Okay. So this is one example. Another example, suppose there is an inconsistency of the data. In case of missing values, there is an inconsistency of the data. Like your database consists of 3 different sub databases. Okay. Your database at the back end where you are going to store the information from the customer, it will consist of 3 sub databases. And there is one attribute called customer ID. Okay, suppose it's a banking database, so you have one attribute of customer ID. So in the first, there are 3 sub databases. So in the first sub database, the customer ID has been written as customer ID as an attribute name. In the second database, the customer ID written as cust ID as an attribute name. And in the third database, it has been written as suppose CID. So there are 3 different names for the 3 different attributes: customer ID, cust ID, and CID. So there is a problem of the naming convention. 3 different naming convention has been used for 3 different sub databases. Okay. So in that case, there is a problem of inconsistency of data. Okay. Or suppose there is one more column, suppose which gives you the gives the customers to fill up their names, customer names. So suppose the customer name is suppose my name Sanjay Chakraborty, right? So in the first, there are 3 sub databases. In the first sub database of customer name attributes of customer name column, I am going to fill up my entire name Sanjay Chakraborty, right? In the second sub database in customer name column, instead of Sanjay Chakraborty, I have given only the name Sanjay. In the third database, in the customer column, instead of giving Sanjay Chakraborty, I am giving S Chakraborty. So my name is same. I am the same person, but their naming conventions are different. So these are the various issues. These are the various issues that need to be handled. Right. Not only that, there is another issue called standardization. Your database is not normalized. Okay, are standardized. And that's why it's difficult for the data mining algorithm or any sort of mining tools in future for the data analysis purpose to execute on that unnormalized database. What do you mean by unnormalized? Let me give you one example. Suppose in the same customer database, there is 2 attributes. One is suppose customer age, another one is suppose customer salary. These 2 are required attributes because in future the bank will disburse some sort of loans to that particular customer. So that's why age and salary is two important factors or 2 important attributes in our banking database, right? So customer names generally consist of 2 digits. Generally consist of 2 digits, দুটো নাম্বার থাকে কাস্টমার এজে, 100 এর উপর জেনারেলি লোকজন খুব একটা বাঁচে না, তো 3 digits is not possible and 1 digit will not be allowed to open an account in a bank. Like 1 digit name, 1 digit person age of a person will not be allowed to open an account in a bank. So maximum the customer age contains 2 digits. Okay, but customer salary contains more number of digits. It may be 5 digits, 6 digits, 8 digits, even 10 digits. So there is a mismatch in the number of digits, or this is called unnormalized situation. That means the age contains only 2 integers or 2 digits, whereas your salary contains 5, 6, 7, 8 digits. So data mining tools is getting or facing problem while analyzing those data, or while doing some sort of prediction or pattern analysis or trend analysis on that database, if the database values has been unnormalized in such a way. So we have to make it normalized. So these are the various techniques that we are going to apply to do the second process of the ETL, that is called transformation of the data. Okay, so আমি এগুলো দেখাবো তোমাকে while we are going to discuss about the data pre-processing or data cleaning sort of things. At that time I will show you that what are the various techniques we are going to apply to make an unnormalized database into a normalized database, or to convert or to transform an unnormalized database to a normalized database, or to transform a missing value database to a field value database. How to handle those sort of inconsistency of the data, or missing data, or noisy data, or on some sort of erroneous data, or you can say the unnormalized data. So that is called transformation process. Up to this, it is clear to everyone? Anyone has any doubt, you can ask me. Up to this, it is clear to everyone? Do you understand the extraction and the transformation, these two things, right? Is it clear to everyone up to this?
Yes, sir, clear.
Yes, sir.
Very good, very good. Can anyone tell me what is the objective of the load and refresh? Load and refresh, these two process, what is the objective of these two process? দেখি বলতে পারো কিনা? Very simple, just use your common sense and tell me what is the objective of load and refresh. Okay, I will tell you about the load, then you will tell me about the refresh process. Okay, so in a load process is generally collect the data from where? From the various heterogeneous sources. It may be operational databases, or it may be flat files, raw files, or some other kind of databases. So it actually summarizes those data, collected those data in a consolidated form or summarized form, or it can perform some sort of sorting on those data, sorts those data, or check the integrity of those data. So this sort of things has been done by the load process. And at the refresh process, it actually updates the data from the data sources to the warehouses. That means operational database is actually holding day-to-day transaction process, which I already told multiple times, day-to-day transaction. Okay, each and every time the transaction has been changed, some new data has been added, some old data has been deleted. So this sort of things is happening frequently in the operational database. So based on that concept, which data are important to reflect into the data warehouse, or which data should be changed or updated in the data warehouse, that will be done by the refresh process. Okay, that's why it's called refresh. Amra computer refresh kore thaki to. What do you mean by refresh? Refreshing means it will delete all the unnecessary things from the backend. Okay, so that is called refresh. Update, up to date, make our system update. That is called refresh. Okay, so this is the description of this ETL process. Okay, so by the help of this ETL process, all this data has to be converted or transformed or extract from the raw database sites or data sources to data warehouse server. This is your data warehouse server, which will consist of data marts or a metadata repository, and there is one controller or monitor and integrator system whose main job is to do some sort of administration or controlling or monitoring the overall process of this data warehouse server. Okay, so if you remember this data mart and data warehouse server, I discussed in the last class. If you won't forget, I already discussed in the last class that data warehouse is an enterprise wide application. Okay, whereas data mart is department wise applications. So suppose if you have an organization, so in the last couple of classes I gave an example of electronics product sales organization, okay, electronics purchase sale organization. So if you're owner of this electronic purchase sale organization, so data warehouse is generally focuses on those subjects which is spans throughout the organization, which spans throughout the organization, the entire organization. That means what is the total sales of all the departments of that organization, or what is the total number of customers and their details of all the departments of the organization, or what is the total customer product relationship, what is the entire customer product relationship of all the organization of the entire organization for all the department. That is our data warehouse architecture. It generally maintains and contains with a large sort of things, large point of view. It will consist the data with a large point of view. It will handle the big data sort of things. Okay, so it will be a time-consuming process. In the last class, I discussed about it. It will be a time-consuming and it's a very effort process. Okay, and it's also prone to error because if it is going to handle a very large sort of data. That's why this process is a prone to error, right? And data marts is a department-wide applications. Department-wide means it only consists of a single department. Suppose I am asking you to make a data storage of a data storage of a sales department, of only the sales department. That means what is the what is the total number of customer employee relationship of the sales department? Only sales department, because your organization consists of multiple departments, but we are only focusing on the sales department to create a data mart. So data mart is nothing but a subset application of the data warehouse, a smaller set application. So it is more efficient, more perfect, and less time consuming compared to data warehouse. Okay, so these are the various sort of things that is actually happening. Okay, is actually part of the data warehouse architecture. This session will time out after 3 minutes. Okay, while this session will time out, everyone please log in into the same link for the next session. Okay. Now, this is all about that. There is one more thing that I forget to discuss, that is metadata repository. What is metadata repository? What do you mean by metadata? Metadata term manayano. I think all of you should know about the about this metadata. What is metadata? In DBMS, you have learned data dictionary. Data dictionary is nothing but a metadata. What is metadata? What is metadata? Can anyone tell me what is metadata? In DBMS, you have learned data dictionary. It is an example of metadata. Now, what is metadata? Any one of you?
No, sir.
Metadata is nothing but a data about data. That means it will store informations about the data warehouse. That means what type of data warehouse you are using, what are the various contents, what are the various schema, what is the various view of a data warehouse that you are maintaining. So metadata repository within this bottom tier is generally showed an architecture of the data warehouse, and it generally gives the information about the data warehouse, the structure of a data warehouse. What is that? It actually describes the structure of a data warehouse. Jodi mone kore thako, in case of your data dictionary, it will generally give you the schema or overall structure of a database that you are using in case of your RDBMS. মনে করে দেখো ডেটাবেসে ডেটা ডিকশনারি কোন কমান্ডে এসকিউএল এ কোন কমান্ডে ডেটা ডিকশনারি দেখতে পেতে মনে আছে? which command you are using to get the output of data dictionary in SQL in Oracle? desk বলে কোনো কমান্ড ইউজ করেছো? DESC for the describe of database, desk space database
Yes,
name.
sir.
So what is the
Yes,
output?
sir.
What is the output of this desk command? It actually used for the description of the
डिसेंडिंग ऑर्डर
database.
में हो जाता है.
Nah, that desk is different. You are telling me about descending order.
Look,
That desk is different. That is for
us,
sorting.
it gives us the information about the table.
Yes, it gives the information about the table. It gives the schemas or views of the table. The table e kota attributes ache and what are the types of the attributes. মনে করে দেখো, that character হলে varchar, যদি তুমি numerical দিতে যে numeric বলে আসতো, মনে পড়ে দেখো, data attributes name at the left hand side will show, and at the right hand side it will show the corresponding data type of that attributes. So the same thing will be The same job will be done here by the metadata repository, but instead of it will give the necessary information of the relational database, it will give the necessary information of the for the data warehouse. Data warehouse, the information there. That means the structure of data warehouse, the schemas and views of data warehouse, the what are the various algorithm used for summarization in the data warehouse, the mapping of